and welcome to the TheROCKATX online worship experience. You are getting ready to experience God on another level. Whatever you're seeking from God for your life is available for you as you praise, hear the word, and transform your situation. While you're worshiping with us, feel free to interact with our online ministers in the chat and share this broadcast with your friends and family so they can join you online. Also, make sure you subscribe and follow TheROCKATX on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram to stay connected to all The Rock is doing. Now, shake off the worries of the week and get ready to give God some praise. Service will begin soon.
Root problems. The first root problem, of course, at its core, it goes without saying, but I have to say it, is sin. It's our fallen nature, right? That's our first root problem. And because of sin, when sin entered the world, death, disease, everything else entered the world. I'm making sense. So I'm not saying that sin is not our root problem. I'm making sense. But I want to help you understand these other corresponding or cascading effects of the sin nature. Am I making sense? First root problem we want to talk about is this. We got physiological problems. Now, that means this. Dr. Carson said this to me years ago, and I've said it so much, I've almost coined the phrase myself. I said, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It's not your fault. It is your responsibility. So now, when we talk about a root problem, it's not your fault, but now it's your responsibility. So what's our first root problem? Why can't I be fruitful? First, because, number one, this is so basic, but we overlook it. The physiological part of us, we don't understand that some of us were born with conditions at birth. We were born with conditions at birth that actually impact how we operate. Listen, you were born premature, and so that affected your physiological function, so that the premature young lungs are actually more susceptible to lung disease and things like asthma. So somebody said, what? Yeah, so you can't affect and you can't impact how you were born. But now that you know you have these breathing issues, it's your responsibility. Am I making sense? Birth defects and certain ways. Listen, some of us and some of us are not as intelligent naturally, academically as others. So stop getting mad when you got to study and they don't. It is not your fault. I had my roommate David in my sophomore year. David was brilliant. When I say brilliant, David was brilliant. David never studied. We are at the University of Texas, and David never studied. David made the dean's list every semester. David was a brilliant man. David would be like, oh, I got this test tomorrow. Let me read these 100 pages tonight. And he'd flip through it, and I'd be like, what are you doing? He said, I'm just reading through this. And I'm sitting there trying to highlighters, notes, note cards, and front. They tell you can bring a note card to your test. I'm writing it in 2-point font. I'm writing it with marking it with highlighters in the back and on the corner and put step 1, step 5, 6, 7, trying to help am I making sense? But David, no problem. So I want you to understand. So I had to look at David, take a nap and be asleep while I'm up studying. And then I had to look at the grades, come back, and David said, man, yeah, I made a 98. And I made a 68. and I'd have to work hard. And I watched David just cruise through. David at every party. I was at every party with him. But no effort. Have you ever met somebody that gives it no effort? But it seems like it just pops for them. And then you find yourself looking and saying, that ain't fair. It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. That means if you don't know it, you got to study harder, because maybe they're just better at that than you. Am I making sense? I learned because I played the drums from 6th grade through college, but I approach everything academically. I've learned this about myself. That means that I take things and I break them down. So to play the drums, I can hear any drum beat and I can play it, but I break it down. So I'll break it down, what my foot got to do, what my hand got to do, what this hand got to do, and I'll slow it down, and then I'll just get a little faster and a little faster and a little faster, and I'll practice it till the point where I got it. But I had a friend named Andre. And I've been playing the drums for years at the church. And Andre comes in the church, and I've been playing for years. And Andre just walks in one day, and he was like, "Man, can I play?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it takes a long time to learn how to do this stuff." And Andre gets the sticks, and he's just like, and everybody goes, "Can Andre play on my song?" Now I'm on the sideline, and then they say, "You need to sing on the praise team." I didn't get promoted to the praise team. I was demoted to the praise team. But then in the praise team, I'd hear the note, I could hear my parts, I could learn my parts, I could learn my tenor parts, I could learn it. And then one day, Elder Lockett walked into service. And they said, "We heard he can sing." And I was like, "Man, this tenor part is pretty complicated." He grabbed the mic, killed it. And they said, "You're going to play the congos." Let me help you, because listen, there are some things you just going to have to work harder in because you were just born that way. Stop moaning and groaning because somebody don't have to work as hard as you. Am I making sense? If you got diabetes, stop being mad about it. It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. You got to learn now how to change your eating. Stop being mad at the person that can go and eat what they want to. Look at them. You're going to go by Popeyes and get you a strawberry biscuit. You just walk up in here with a strawberry biscuit with all that cream cheese icing, hot bread and strawberry pieces in it, and you just eating it and smacking your lips. And look, and if I get it, I got yeast allergies. I got all kind of. Once I get it, my big old stomach just go whoop. But you can eat it. You ain't got to run. But on Monday morning, I'm out. Why? Because it's not my fault. You look at my DNA says this ain't got to work well for you. Am I making sense? Making sense. That means this, that there's some conditions at birth that I got. I can't help it. Listen, I got glasses. I can't help it. I can't help it. There's some some preconditioned things that I have. And I got to stop hating on people and being mad at God because I don't have what they have. The fig tree didn't say, They grapes. It's easier for them. They don't need as much water. They don't need as much care. Am I making sense? A lot of times we're upset with God and upset with others because they have what we don't have. And I want you to understand this. That means this. If you have an accident and you're hurt in an accident, and now they've had surgery on you, guess what? You got to deal with that the rest of your life. So that means this. If they tell you to do the physical therapy, then you gotta go do it. And once you stop, things gonna tighten up. So you'll find yourself. Am I making sense? Making sense. So stop looking around at people that listen, the people who naturally fit, they just got muscles everywhere and they just naturally thin. Stop being mad at them women of God, man of God, stop being swole. You got that medium shirt on. You need to come to the house of God looking like something else. I don't know what you're trying to do. Stop being mad at them. Am I making sense? Making sense. So this means this. Why is this important? Because when we have these physiological issues, we don't acknowledge our responsibility in them. So you say, I can't be fruitful because of my back. But you haven't taken the responsibility to say, because of my back, I've got to operate differently. Because of my back, I've got to do it a little different way. Am I making sense? Because of my, am I talking to somebody? Because of my knee, because of the way my mind works, because of, listen, I've got these, you don't understand what it's like to have this mental issue. I don't. But listen, if you're having a mental health challenge, remember that part of the mental health challenge is physiological, which means we don't tell the person who's dealing with type 2 diabetes they got a demon. We tell that person you need to take your insulin, you need to watch what you eat, you need to watch your diet, you need to take your medicine, everything else. Am I making sense? So why, if you got bipolar disorder, why aren't you taking your meds? It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. You don't understand. I got anxiety. Take your meds. I got anxiety. Stop listen. Stop looking at the news all the time. I got anxiety. I'm always worried. I'm always scared. I'm just always worried about something going to happen. Turn off the social media. You have to understand something. Can I go a little deeper? Am I right? See, what you have to understand is the body. God made the body in order to deal with stress. He made us, he gave us components to deal with stress. But stress was never intended by God to be a 24-hour experience. Stress was intended by God to be something that comes upon us. We release hormones, adrenaline, to get away from the stress. He releases cortisol to cut down on the adrenaline to bring us back into a regulatory pattern. And then we go back to regular life. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I want to help you here. Understand this. God gave me this. So the Bible says men should always pray. So that means that God is expecting us to be in a constant state of communion with him. That doesn't mean that I'm driving in the car going, but it does mean that even when I'm in the car, I'm saying, Father, I'm having this concern. Father, guide me. It means that when I wake up in the morning, Daddy, this is what's going on with me. Daddy, this is what I'm worried about. That means like before I go to bed, Daddy. When I'm at work at my desk, I'm like, Dad, well, I'm wondering what's happening. Men should always pray. Notice, and he tells us this. He says this, that we have to bring every thought into captivity. So wait a minute. So I'm supposed to be always in commune with God, and I'm supposed to be bringing any other thoughts into captivity, right? What the enemy, who is the God of this age, 2 Corinthians 4:4, right? He's the God of this age. One of the things that he is great at is, listen, he did the okie doke on us. He said, listen, I'm going to use technology to speak to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So now you're going to have a phone and a smartwatch, and it's going to constantly be giving you a feed of data. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to bring every thought captivity. So I'm supposed to bring every thought to captivity. But how do I bring every thought to captivity when I keep getting information, message? So Twitter, bing. Ooh, look at that drama. Ooh, look at him. Facebook, bing. Instagram, Reels. Am I making sense? And so you're laying in bed. You're getting ready to go to sleep. So so now you're allowing all this into your psyche. You're allowing all. So you ain't binding nothing. You just letting it. Now here's the thing. So Twitter is talking to you. Instagram talking to you. Reels are talking to you. Facebook is talking to you. You're getting this constant barrage of information. Text, call, text, emails, bing, 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 bing. Now, here's the deal. The text comes, wonder what's happening. Wonder what's wrong. What happens? Adrenaline goes up. Twitter comes. Do you know what's happening with this is happening in China. This is happening right now. They lying to you. They giving to you. If you take a shot, you're going to grow a tail. China's taking over this. Don't drink milk because your hair going to grow. Drink milk because you need your hair to be skinny. I mean, we got this constant barrage of stuff. So how do you live? So now what's happening? Your adrenaline now is constant. Your cortisol is constant. So your anxiety level does what? But the Bible says be anxious. So now, how do I be anxious for nothing when I keep getting information fed to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? So then what I do, rather than taking God's choice, I have to medicate. So now I get anxiety medicine to pull me into a physiological and psychological space where I can rest. And so now I'm using artificial substances to keep me where God wanted me. It is not my fault. Years ago, I figured out something. My phone would ring all the time, and it would buzz all the time. And so I did something years ago, but I didn't consult anybody. I turned my ringer off. I turned my ringer off 10 years ago. Off. Not low, not buzz. Silence. You know why? I said, I need to let people know when I'm available. If it's important, then I can respond. If I want to be available, I can keep my phone with me and I can turn it up so that I can see what's happening. If I don't want to be available, then I can put my phone down and I cannot have it active. I got a smartwatch. I said, I can't sleep in this watch. Why? Because when I'm asleep, it's like, hey, somebody's doing something. Somebody's talking to you. So what I did, y'all, I turned it off. People, I know people are going to disagree with me, but I turned it off because I said, I got to control my own mind. Because I feel I'm anxious all the time. And when my phone rings, I'm like, oh, what's that? Who's that? What's going on? So now, when I'm in the space, I got my phone. And when I feel like going to sleep, and I feel like our phone is here. Am I making sense? Why? Because it was the only way I could control the incoming messages. Am I making sense? Makes sense. Well, what if emergency happens? Call 911. Making sense. Call EMS if you're sick. Call the fire department if there's a fire. Call the police department if somebody's robbing you. And then text me and let me know. And I trust God enough that he's big enough to take care of it until I'm informed. Am I making sense? Why? Because I have to understand that the diseases of life, if I want a better heart, I got to take responsibility for it. Am I making sense? If I have an accident and I'm hurt, that means I got to do the work. Am I making sense? The doctor said I need to do this doggone rehab. Okay, well, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to be in the pain, and then the pain's going to lead to meds. The meds are going to lead to a sedentary lifestyle. The sedentary lifestyle is going to lead to other complications. Why? Because you didn't catch it at the root. And you can get to a point physiologically where the cascading effects are too much. Because you can't walk because your knees hurt. You can't move because your feet hurt. And you got to take medication to walk. And you got to take medication to get up. And you got to take medication to go to sleep. So you're taking medication for your medication. I'm making sense. It is not your fault. Why is the tree unfruitful, Dr. Moody? Because their knees hurt. Why is the tree unfruitful, Dr. Moody? Because they have anxiety problems. Why is the tree unfruitful, Dr. Moody? Because they really don't want to take their medicine to deal with their mental health. How is it other people can do it? They can't do it? No. So they're on the roller coaster. So what happens is about 6 months they usually start tripping. Because they don't deal with the root. Am I making sense to somebody?
For worshiping with us today. If you're in need of prayer or someone to talk to, our online ministers are available for you right now in the chat. And we invite you to join us again for our extraordinary worship services every Sunday at 10:30 a.m., Sunday at 4 p.m., and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central, where Dr. Moody teaches how to understand the Bible and you can get your biblical questions answered. We look forward to connecting with you and ask that you subscribe to TheROCKATX on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected to all The Rock is doing. Also, you can connect with us through our website at TheROCKATX.org. Again, thank you for worshiping with us, and be blessed.